Hi, guys. Good morning. It's the 25th day of 2025, January. Already coming off a little snowstorm on Monday for the
Yeah.
Northeast. And I'm here, of course, with my partner, Eli. Eli, how was your week, buddy?
Well, it was a pretty intense, pretty crazy week, and of course we had a snowstorm and we had an earthquake. What else could you have asked for?
Yeah, it's kind of rare in New Jersey, actually. Yeah, I know, but we did. I didn't feel the tremble. But,
Me neither.
yeah,
And on top of that, Florida and New Orleans got snow, and they
un-
said, and I found a stat actually. They had more snow than Juneau, Alaska this January. Juneau averages about 25 inches of snow, and so far they only got 8 inches of snow. So that's pretty crazy to think that combined they got more snow than Juneau.
well, that's Eli, our amateur meteorologist, giving us his weather report. Excellent.
I don't know what today's weather is. Looks cold out. Bundle up.
It's cold. Yeah, it's cold. Well, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, so let's jump right into it. And of course, the monologue starts off our show every week, and it's sponsored, of course, by Coriano Trucking of Summer Hill, New York. And yeah, we got a lot of stuff to talk about, but I want to. The monologue is going to be this week because I've had conversations with people, and I think you, me, and everybody else asked this question about like the Dodgers. How are they signing all of these high priced players? And you can look at it two ways. So the Dodgers are one of the most valuable franchises in sports, right? It's owned by Mark Walter, who's the head of Guggenheim Sports Management. So collectively, the ownership of the Dodgers has unbelievable amounts of money. And I guess that's how they, of course, how they can afford to, right? They just signed Sasaki, and it just keeps going on and on. And of course, as we know, Eli, just because of the payroll doesn't guarantee a world championship. But if you
Right.
look on paper, the Los Angeles Dodgers, right? They signed Tanner Scott, they signed Sasaki, they got Freeman, they got Betts, they got a high price, and of course, Shohei Ohtani. So I guess, and I don't know, I'm not a finance guy, but when you look at it and ask the questions, I guess there's let's call it a salary cap, right? And if you go over that cap, they now call it the Cohen tax, meaning you got to pay more money.
Right.
There are ownerships, and this is always going to hurt um, the low market teams that don't have those kind of resources. So it's kind of stacking the deck, and it's an interesting conversation I had with Derek, one of our loyal listeners, during the week, and it's very very interesting. When you see what the Mets just signed Soto for, right? But now they're hemming and hawing about whether or not they can even afford to pay Pete Alonso. So it's just an overarching um,
Right.
situation in Major League Baseball where you can, if you have the resources, you could pay these resources, but it doesn't guarantee a World Series. But if you look on paper with the Dodgers right now,
Anything's
uh,
possible.
anything is possible, like you said. And if you can afford to pay these luxury taxes, I wondered if maybe the right thing is to say, here is the salary cap that everybody has to follow, and forgetting if you pay way way more than market value that you have to pay the tax. Well,
Right.
paying the tax for the Los Angeles Dodgers for a payroll is nothing. The ownership is valued at like 600 billion dollars. So money's never an object, but it will hurt the small market teams going forward.
Absolutely. It will hurt these small market teams going forward because now they're going to have to pay up now for all these guys to come in. Look what the Mets did with Juan Soto. Look how much money they offered. They're trying to compete to make sure that they're going to play the Dodgers eventually. Hopefully, see them in that matchup once more. The
Yep.
Dodgers, I think they are a World Series team. And I mean, they won the World Series this year, fair and
Yep.
square, obviously, with the Yankees this year. They have another shot at doing it. They're keeping up the guys, and they got them right. organization and they've got money. That's what the bottom line is. And you also have the LA folks paying taxes to that team. That's the bottom line. That's what the joke is. But
Yeah.
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 From Diego, he says, "Hello,
And
boys."
this is really no different than who's that? Diego. Good morning, Diego. Thank you for joining our show. Appreciate it. And this is really no different, I guess, than in other sports, right? I think the NBA, as we know, I mean, $40 million per year for guys like Jimmy Butler,
Yep.
who's in the twilight of his career, causing trouble in Miami. It's the same thing. But the amount of money, and when it comes down to it, guess who pays? You and I and the
Yes,
average fan. It's just crazy.
it's the bottom
Um,
line.
anyway, so I'd love for people to send some comments in and
Absolutely.
send us an email at sportswithmono@gmail.com because it's an interesting topic and I thought it was worthy of a monologue.
Absolutely.
All right, Eli, let's move on because we got a lot of stuff to talk about, right? So the NFL we're going to get to, but first let's start with the college football playoff. And
Yeah.
I got it wrong. I took Notre Dame. I know Bobby, our producer, is a big Notre Dame fan, but they got outmatched. You could see
Yep.
Ohio State and the job that Will Howard did, the running backs, Jeremiah Smith, this wide receiver phenom. They really dominated the game and, probably saved Ryan Day's job first and
Absolutely.
foremost, right?
No question asked
Um,
about that.
but you can't not be impressed by Ohio State and the way that they really dominated the game. And, maybe I overestimated Notre Dame or I underestimated Ohio State. I'm not so sure. But when you look at what Will Howard did, think of what that did for his draft status,
Right.
right? He
Just
probably
up
went
them up
from being
more.
potentially a third, fourth round pick, maybe now be a early second round pick, which of course we'll get to the draft thing coming down the road, but a very, very impressive and dominating win for Ohio State. And that closes the book on the 2024-25 college football season.
It was incredible. It went super fast. We started in Dublin and it ended in Atlanta. Pretty crazy to think that that's where the college football road took us. Ohio State,
Yep.
what a win for them. Big win for them. I'm glad I picked them to win. I will take credit for that. But I will do say that they played a fantastic game and we were underestimating them, a lot. They had a couple like ups and downs and stuff, but what a road they had to beat Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Right from there, that was the key sign. Once they beat Oregon in the Rose Bowl, that's when and that's when you knew that Ohio State was the front runners to win the national championship. And there was no
Yep.
other obstacle standing in their way. And there was
Yep.
no other team that could defeat them. Because if you could defeat Oregon, that was the number one team of the country, fantastical year, then you have a shot. And that's what we saw with this Ohio State team. So absolute congrats to them. And for Notre Dame, we will see them hopefully again real soon in the playoffs. Now, just want to bring up real quick about the format and everything. Why is it that every single national championship, every single year, either becomes a blowout or does not, and excite us as much? Why is it always like that? Like last year, we saw the almost same result. It's always the final four that's exciting, and that's it. The new format, the first round was great when you had the home field advantage. No need for the buys, though. That's what we noticed out of this new format this year.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have to take a look at the format. And, overall, like I said, full disclosure, I thought Oregon was the best team. I didn't
agree
think
too.
that they could be beat, but they did get beat. And so, we don't always get it right. We get it right a lot of times on the show, but
Yes.
sometimes you just can't figure out, on any given night.
Especially with the college world and especially like with college basketball and the men's March Madness, you can predict one team and it could be just a random 16 seed that steals the whole show. That's just the beauty of college sports. And speaking of college football, they announced that, of course, next year will be Miami, the host of the national championship. And they've also announced that 2027 will be in Las Vegas. So you're going to see those athletes gamble, I guess, before they play the national championship. Don't lose that much money.
Yeah, it looks like Vegas is the place to host all these events. I mean, they've been building this up. They got the Sphere. They got the whole.
It once was New York. Now they're heading over to LA.
That's right. That's right.
There
So
we go. But
anyway,
hey, great.
great college football season. Congratulations to Ohio State. And like I said, this is closes the chapter on a great season. Great season.
Absolutely.
Okay, Eli.
Let's go to the
Let's
NFL.
jump into the big boy league. And
And I
this
think
is
there was been a ton of coaching, hirings, firings, and all that. It felt like a Black Monday in
yep,
1 week.
yep. And okay, you know what? We could start with that because there has been a lot of activity during this week.
Yeah.
Certainly, as teams get knocked out of the NFL playoffs, that opens the door for the assistant coaches to interview, even though they can interview during the playoffs.
Yeah, but it's not
You
the
know,
same. You want to focus on the
yeah,
team more.
right. So let's go down the list and see a couple of things that. So we know that Ben Johnson is now the new head coach in Chicago, and that's a big loss for Detroit, coming off their big loss
Yeah.
previous week, right?
And I think that's a great hire by the Bears. I think they have a shot at going far, develop Caleb Williams. I think they have a shot of going far. And what we notice actually from the NFC North this year, we look at the playoffs and their run. We saw the Packers get eliminated, the Vikings get eliminated, and we saw the Lions get eliminated, which we'll talk about the Lions in a little bit. So
Yep.
if this hire works and goes to plan, this is a fantastic hire.
Yep. So, well, listen, a lot of people are putting a lot of stock that Ben Johnson can come in and turn Caleb Williams around and make the Bears a formidable franchise. It's going to depend on who he brings with him to assemble on his staff. It's not just him and Caleb Williams, but we're going to find out soon enough. A couple other hires. Excuse me. So you had Pete Carroll. That was a surprise.
I love it. I love
Your
it.
former coach.
I love it. And I know I'm a Seahawks fan, but I'm going to be honest with you. I love it because that makes the AFC West loaded. Because now you have Andy Reid as the head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, which you know they're going to probably win everything once more. You also have Jim Harbaugh for the Chargers. You also have Pete Carroll now, and you still have for the Denver Broncos. I'm blanking on the name. Sean Payne. That is incredible.
Yeah.
Poor chewing gum, as we know, for the Raiders. But other than that, and I think it's a fantastic hire. And I think as long as if they could pick up a quarterback, the Raiders have a shot at making the playoffs next year. That's my early prediction.
Okay. Well, here's some couple other hires, right? So Jacksonville hires Liam Cohen from the Tampa Bay
Sports
Bucks.
Talk with JR asks about what are your thoughts about it?
Well, I don't know a lot about him. But I do know he's highly regarded in this, and Jacksonville right now, he's got his work cut out for him because they've been kind of on a slide, and the question is Trevor Lawrence the guy that could take that team to the next level? He hasn't done it yet.
I don't think so.
So I don't know much about Liam Cohen, but I know he's highly respected, so he gets that job. And of course, now the New York Jets hire Aaron Glenn, another coach. I like him. I remember him as a player. He was a good player. He's got a great resume. I mean, he worked for Parcells. He worked for all those guys, the big names. But you have to wonder if you're a Jets fan. You did the same thing last time. You took a defensive coordinator with no head coaching experience to run that team. And I think, as we've seen for the past 50 years, the Jets, just never seem to get it right. I think they have the worst owner in the NFL, and Woody Johnson. I don't think he's connected with the fan base. But I think right now, I'm going to say it's a decent hire for the Jets because he's got a great resume bringing to New York, former player, and so he's got Jet roots. But again, Eli, when we talk about who gets hired as the head coach, who are you going to bring in to be your OC and your DC? Those are key points.
See, to me, I'm going to have to disagree. I don't think that this is a great hire for the Jets. I think we're going to see the same old Jets. As you mentioned previously, every defensive coordinator that they hired, it has not worked out because they've not developed the offense. Right now, he's already hinting that he wants to keep Aaron Rodgers. I don't like it at all. I thought Aaron Rodgers had to go. We saw two coaches already with Robert Saleh and the interim head coach, and we had Jeff Ulbrich, and it did not work out for Aaron Rodgers. Not a big fan of this pickup. I think that this is it's going to be an interesting road ahead. I'm not a fan of it.
Yeah, and again, it always comes back to this Aaron Rodgers thing, and we've seen what happened last year. He's not the player he once was. Does Aaron Glenn want to go into his first season with a quarterback who will probably be 42 years old by the time the season
Correct.
at least midway through the season? So I don't see Rodgers being in this plan. But the question is, well, then who are you going to get? And you see there's free agents out there like Derek Carr, and I hear the Giants are going to talk to Derek Carr. That would be an absolute disaster again. That would set the franchise back. And I think Aaron Glenn needs a fresh start. And we're going to find out whether or not this was another pick that the Jets missed
or succeeded on.
Yeah, well, they haven't
other ones
in 50 years. So.
The other ones out there, Cowboys hired former offensive coordinator Brian Schottenheimer as their new head coach.
Yeah, and listen, at least Brian Schottenheimer comes with good genes. His father was a great football coach. Marty coached for 4 different teams. But he got the Cleveland Browns to the championship game, and he was the head coach of Kansas City before Andy Reid. So he's got good genes. So we could dismiss the Cowboys bringing in Deion Sanders and all that kind of stuff. So they went with what's good. A guy's got a lot of experience, but again, no head coaching experience. So that remains to be seen.
And I think we could officially agree that the Cowboys have been officially eliminated from playoff contention.
Well, that'll rub some of our Cowboy fans the wrong way, but that's okay.
But we do have a comment from Sports Talk with JR. He says, I think Liam Cohen will turn for Lawrence's career around. Look at what he did with the Rams and look at what he did with Kentucky.
Yeah, no, I'm not questioning his qualifications whatsoever. But Jacksonville is a team that they're a long way away. So he's got a lot of work to do.
Other hires. Yeah.
Go ahead, Eli.
49ers named former Jets head coach Robert Saleh, their defensive coordinator. I love it. Because I think he was a great defensive mind. I mean, the defense was phenomenal with the Jets before it went downhill.
Was it?
I thought it was.
Now they had all the makings of it, but I think some of these guys you still got exposed, like Sauce Gardner. Maybe he's not
okay. Fair. Okay, that was Sauce Gardner though.
Okay, but so yeah, Saleh did a great job at San Francisco before.
I think it'll be
definitely not head coaching material. So maybe he settles back in the role that he was designed to be in, and he goes back to the Niners.
Yeah.
Don't see that as a problem. But another one.
Yep, go for it.
I wanted to bring this one up because it's somebody that I know his nephew. So Lou Anarumo, who got fired as the defensive coordinator in Cincinnati, takes the defensive coordinator job for Indianapolis. And
yes,
I think that's a great hire. When you look at a guy like Lou Anarumo's resume, it's outstanding. And I think that the Bengals made a mistake by letting him go. I don't know why the defense was giving up so many points, but this was a successful defensive coordinator for 6 years. And I think that's going to be a loss for them. And it's going to be a gain for the Colts.
Absolutely. And the Bengals, instead, they pick up Notre Dame defensive coordinator Al Golden to become their new DC.
Yeah. He's a Jersey boy, played at Red Bank Catholic. Yeah. Yeah.
Other ones, Patriots have hired Josh McDaniels as their offensive coordinator.
Mm-hmm.
The Falcons named former Jets interim head coach Jeff Ulbrich as their new defensive coordinator. Texans, they parted ways with offensive coordinator Bobby Slowick. That was a
Yeah,
big one.
and listen, see how things turn very quickly in this National Football League.
Oh, yes.
Because last year and the year before, Bobby Slowick was a genius, right? He took C.J. Stroud and made him a formidable rookie of the year, and all of a sudden now he gets fired, even though they made the playoffs and won a game. He still gets fired. So there's no love lost in the National Football League for coaches that were successful, because you're one day away from losing your job, and that was a surprise to me. That's the
Absolutely.
biggest surprise. Yeah.
Jaguars, they parted ways with GM Trent Bullock. Raiders, they finalized a deal with Buccaneers GM John Spytek as their new GM. The Vikings agreed to extend Kevin O'Connell's contract.
Which I think is a good move, because he's
Absolutely.
a young,
I agree.
very young.
But now, will he develop as quarterback with Mike McDaniels? That's the question. Not Mike McDaniels, JJ McCarthy.
JJ McCarthy. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
Right.
And the 2026 NFL draft will be coming to Pittsburgh.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. And now
Well-
we have a couple comments from Sports Talk. You guys think they're still a long way away? We just made the playoffs 2 years ago in 2022. I think it's very possible we can make the playoffs next year. The Jaguars, because they had a lot of one-score games this past year. Majority of our games were lost by one score.
Well, JR, listen, I think even as a Jaguar fan, you have to wonder, is Trevor Lawrence the guy that can lead that team? And he seems to be starting to get a little hurt every now and then. But listen, he was the overall #1 pick. He's not done yet.
No question.
Maybe he just hasn't had the supporting cast. I think they're trending in the right direction, but I would cautiously optimistic about Trevor Lawrence getting to that elite level like Mahomes and Allen and Burrow and those kind of guys. Big
Absolutely.
question. Yeah.
But now we got to talk about the divisional round. We got to recap those games before we get to our picks and that wonderful standings chart, which I'm not so happy about right now, but we'll get to that later. But the refs and the Chiefs won the game. Final score 23-14. Any notes about that?
Well, okay. I know there's a lot of talk that Patrick Mahomes gets the Tom Brady treatment. And
but more treatment than
he's
Tom
earned
Brady.
it. I don't see it. And I know he did take this quote unquote flop going out of bounds, which he acknowledged that he did do that. But yes, the refs have to protect these guys. And does he get more protection than anybody else?
Yes,
Yeah,
absolutely. You're telling me
kind of-
they're missing calls for the Texans all the time, but going to protect Patrick Mahomes, the Kansas City Chiefs? That's uncalled for. I'm sorry. You got to make the calls.
I do get it, and I do. But he's such a pivotal part of the entire National Football League. Because the guy's got 3 Super Bowl rings. He's not even 30 years
Does
old.
not matter, though. You have to be equally fair. You can't just support a guy because he's about to win a 3-peat. I'm sorry. Unless the NFL pays you, which is a possibility, to protect this guy with all your trust. I mean, I respectfully disagree, and I'm sure all of our viewers out there disagree 100% with that call. I mean,
No.
Feel free to comment about that part. But
I'm not saying that it's right.
Okay.
Nobody deserves preferential treatment, but he does seem to get the calls, and
we got comments.
Yes,
Andrew
the
says,
refs are supposed to be.
Andrew says, "Good morning, guys. I'm with Eli on Mahomes.
I know.
Go
I'm
Eagles.
not,
Saquon deserves a ring, and so does
dismissing
Hurts."
You guys are taking this the wrong way. I'm not dismissing that he does seem to get a lot of the calls. I know that.
Frankie
I don't have
comments-
any defense. And Andrew, you're right. We expect the referees to be impartial, regardless of who it is. And maybe he does get some favoritism. I don't know.
Yeah, not just a little bit, a lot. Frankie commented, said, "Go Eagles. Saquon Barkley deserves a ring, and so does Hurts."
Well, and this is coming from, thank you, Frankie, by the way. And, Frankie and we talk about this. I couldn't be happier for the success that Saquon Barkley has had in Philadelphia. And it just goes to show that he's always had this talent. I've always been a supporter of his, but he was on a crappy Giants team, and he wasted 5 years of his career. And yeah, Giant fans are upset he went to Philadelphia. I can't root for Philadelphia in any way, shape, or form, but I do root for Saquon Barkley, and he's not going to win the MVP. That'll most likely go to Jackson, and
Yep.
Allen will be second, and Barkley will be third.
Well,
But
you never know. Allen could still get it.
yeah, but what a great year he had, and
No question.
yeah, you might be a little surprised with my picks in that game, and we'll get to those.
We'll get to that in a little
So,
bit. But overall, though, Saquon Barkley, he battled through the snow. He's absolutely an incredible player. He had an incredible season. There's no question that it was the right move for Giants fans. Keep on crying, but it came down to organization and management, and they felt
Yep.
he wasn't right. So it really
Exactly.
there's nothing to be booing about as a Giant fan. You should be booing instead your organization, your manager, really, and your GM and all that. Not Saquon Barkley and the fact that he's a good football player. It's the
Yep.
management.
Yep. Well, he was always a good football player, but now we're seeing the kind of talent. If he was on a Giants team that would put up a decent offensive line, he could have had that kind of success. But this is the player that he has always been, and he's one of the class acts of the National Football League. When you hear he's humbled, he's not arrogant, and he's happy to be there, and he's there because the Giants decided he wasn't worth the extra $2 million. So you got to eat that one.
Frankie says that if the Giants sign Derek Carr, I'm officially switching fan bases.
Yeah, I don't want anything to do with this recycling of these last, and you could talk about it. It could be Carr, it could be Kirk Cousins, it could be those kind of guys. But the Giants have to move forward. They have to make a decision. They got to make some moves to get up into that draft and get the quarterback that they want, because otherwise we're just going to look at another wasted year. And Derek Carr is not going to bring you to the Super Bowl. Kirk Cousins is not going to bring you to the Super Bowl. Drew Lock is not going to bring you to the Super Bowl. So Giants got a lot of work, Frankie. I agree. And
yeah, the two other games I want to talk about before we have to go to our picks, Commanders, phenomenal win over the Lions. I thought that was incredible. You could have not asked for a better performance by the Commanders. They are potentially going to go to the Super Bowl. The way that they're playing right now, Jaden Daniels proven to be a fantastic pickup in the draft.
Absolutely. And listen, the Giants, could have had an opportunity to get Jaden Daniels. You never know. I don't think anybody expected him to come out and be this dynamic player that he has. And he has,
excuse me, right here. I picked them for the playoffs.
Okay. Okay. I know. You
Sorry about that. I don't want to interrupt you, Jim. I was like, I did pick them.
No, you took Detroit last week.
No, for overall the regular season, I'm saying.
Oh, okay.
Make the playoffs and all that. I know I picked Detroit last week. I know that.
Okay.
And Mark Andrews, he dropped a 2-point conversion that ultimately ended their run for the Ravens.
Okay, but listen, they're really hanging a lot on Mark Andrews, and there was still a lot of time on the clock. I still think Josh Allen could have taken that ball down the field and got him in position for a winning field goal. But
absolutely,
of course, we'll never know. And I feel bad because Mark Andrews is an outstanding player. But
it's tough to see that happen,
right?
Yeah.
All right. One of the other games, and when we talk about you mentioned the Philadelphia game and in the snow, and it was horrible conditions. And I think the Rams, on a dry field, I think it would have been a much more competitive game. They rallied to try to make a comeback. So I was a little bit more impressed with the Rams than I thought I would be.
It just came down to the weather, bottom line.
Yeah, I did pick the Rams to win that game. I did.
Yeah. I think the ones that you got wrong were the Lions. No. Yeah, the Lions and the Rams. I got the Lions and Ravens picks wrong.
Right. So I did take Buffalo, and I've been on Buffalo's bandwagon all year long. So they go 10-0 at home.
I think their run potentially ends next week, but we'll get to that in just a second. And I think it's time to look at that chart. I think it's time.
Pull it up.
Now, the only way possible that I could potentially win is if you lose the next 3 games and I somehow win the next 3 by miracle.
Okay. Well,
so let's see what happens.
But we could say this. There is no question who won the regular season.
Yeah, we already pulled that up, Jim.
And now we're pulling in the playoffs. So, okay, fair enough. I'll count those games too. So let's get to those picks, Eli. So
All right.
I'm gonna let you go first.
I love it. I love it.
Go ahead.
Let's,
Give me who's gonna win tomorrow and who's going to the Super Bowl.
Commanders, they take on the Eagles. 6 seed versus 2 seed. 30 p.m. on Fox in the NFC Championship. It's the NFC East battle. But an injury report came out this week saying that Jalen Hurts was questionable. He wasn't full participant, and I think that's going to stop Philadelphia. Don't get me wrong. I think Saquon Barkley have a good day, but you need the right quarterback to put up points on the board. And for those reasons, give me the Washington Commanders to go to the Super Bowl 27-24.
Okay.
And the next game.
I'll get to my picks in a minute, but go ahead.
Yep.
Continue.
Okay. Let me get to the comment first before AFC Championship. Diego says the Buffalo Bills were just called for roughing the passer.
Yeah, and that's because that's the reference to Mahomes. I got it. Point taken.
You got a lot of hate for that one, Jim. The Bills take on the Chiefs in the AFC Championship, 6:30 on CBS. Guess who's the quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs? Patrick Mahomes. Guess who's in the fan and in the booth? Taylor Swift. Guess who's calling the game? The referees. And guess who's the head coach? Andy Reid. 1 + 1 + 1 + 1 equals the Kansas City Chiefs win. They're going to the Super Bowl. They're going to win a three-peat. Give me the Chiefs 26-23.
Okay. Yeah, I think my point came across wrong that I'm justifying the preferential treatment Mahomes gets. All right.
Yeah, I think it came out wrong, Jim. So you're gonna have to write an apology letter next week.
Okay, fair enough. Okay, so your picks are in Philadelphia,
Washington, and Kansas City.
Okay, so here are my picks, and it's killing me to have to do this. And I don't think Jalen Hurts is questionable. I think he's going to be just fine. I don't know that he's, I'm not 100% sold on Jalen Hurts, but I think he does have a lot of weapons, and I think their defense is very, very good. I was talking with somebody about the play of Jalen Carter, and even Aaron Donald came out and said that this guy Jalen Carter is the next Aaron Donald, and that's an interesting comment because I remember when he had all these troubles at Georgia, and I didn't want anything to do with him when the Giants picked him, but he's a hell of a player, and this is tough for me to say, and I kind of am rooting for Jaden Daniels and the Commanders. It'd be a great story that he took a team with the same record as the Giants the previous year that comes out and makes the Super Bowl. Unfortunately, I don't think that's going to happen. So I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles to win at home in a very, very close game. This is not going to be a blowout.
Absolutely.
So we're differing there. So this is going to this is going to open the door for you to either close the gap on our.
Well, let's see what you pick for AFC, though. That's the question. I mean, I think I already know what you're going to pick, but we have to double check just to confirm it, though.
Okay. Well, just so you know, I am unpredictable at best. So.
I know. We just saw that with the referee comment just moments ago. Now the whole world is
okay. So this game is going to be a great game, and I could regret this because I've made a mistake once before of betting against Patrick Mahomes, but I am all in on the Buffalo Bills to pull this upset finally to get over that hump, and Josh Allen is going to take the Bills to the Super Bowl.
Wow. May I remind everybody at home first?
I know.
What are the colors for the Super Bowl this year? Red, green, purple, gold. No blue.
Well, no blue. I know this is a surprise, but
we're all surprised. I really am shocked.
I know.
We disagreed on everything this week. This is really going to separate that charter.
I think Patrick Mahomes is great, and I think he's a great kid. Just like I mentioned,
just gave all the praise in the world with the referees.
Right. So yeah, maybe he gets the calls, but I think Buffalo this time they've come so close, And I think this is going to turn out to be a little different. I think they're going to win in a very, very tight game. I think both games will be tight. And I know this is shocking to the fan base of Sports with Mono and Mono, but I'm taking Buffalo in the upset on the road in Kansas City. I
can't
could come
believe
to regret it. And if I make the mistake again and Patrick Mahomes wins this game, I will never bet against Patrick Mahomes. But I think this is a little bit of a different Buffalo
wow.
team, and it's going to be a great game, and I'm looking forward to it. So,
Wow. I just am shocked that we disagreed on both these games and have 4 completely different picks. Folks at home, I hope you're not betting on these and relying on our knowledge, because right now we really split the table this time. I think this is the first time ever that we've had a split table down the road.
and remember,
Wow.
I'm not betting. You know my
I
feelings
know
on.
that. I'm just saying. I hope that nobody starts betting on our picks, because we have really split the table on this one.
Yeah, well, this is going to be. I'm going out on a limb because Sean McDermott, has to prove that he can game manage to the point where he made a couple of mistakes the last time they lost in Kansas City in the playoffs. But I really am sold on Josh Allen, and I think they got a good running
Wow.
game. And I know this was going to shock the world today.
He
So
did. I'm shocked myself. I really am. I really thought he was gonna pick Kansas City. And you saw, everybody, the referee comment, how much he praised the referees in Mahomes. Now, wow.
you misinterpreted it. You misinterpreted.
We all
But
did.
anyway,
I mean, well,
so
that'll be for next week's discussion. We hope you join us then.
but the table is set for tomorrow, 3:30 or 3
We're
o'clock
really
and
set.
6:30. Yeah,
4
be
different
great games.
corners. Wow.
Great games. A
I'm
lot of
shocked.
stuff, tons of stuff to talk about already.
But we gotta move along though. We got a lot to talk
We
about
do.
still.
We
But
do.
yeah.
So, real quick, let's move on to first and
MLB.
foremost, I want to talk about the Australian Open in tennis because Madison Keys won her first Grand Slam event yesterday in an upset over Sabalenka. That's a big upset. That's a Bills over the Chiefs type upset. And congratulations to her. She came up. She's been she was a phenom. And now she's 29 years old, wins her first Grand Slam. Congratulations to her. And on the men's side, we were all watching intently. Could Novak come back? Is he finally ready to ride into the sunset? And he makes the semifinals, but had to retire due to injury. So that's a big loss. But these are the young guns that I've talked about over and over again. When Nadal retired and so forth. So you have Jannik Sinner and Zverev in the men's final. I'm going to take Sinner this time, as my pick. I think it's tomorrow at 3:30. So I don't know if they're going to get many ratings.
Yeah, it's 3:30 in the morning. Unless you are a little hungover from the bars, I think you're going to be in bed and have to catch the highlight show on ABC.
That's right. That's right. But that's also, the Australian Open always kicks off the Grand Slam tennis season, and it's been very, very exciting. And congratulations, though, to Madison Keys, and we'll see who wins tomorrow for the men.
Absolutely.
All right, I want to jump into Major League Baseball because, and again, this is always, it's an interesting topic for me when guys are, Hall of Fame comes up, right? And so here's a couple guys that did get in, and that was Ichiro. And there was one jackass writer who said this guy doesn't belong in the Hall of Fame. He had 10 straight seasons of 200 hits. Are you kidding me? What was this guy thinking? What his thinking was, I want to be the one guy, and he thinks he's going to make a name for himself, but he's actually doing himself an injustice because either there's a bias or something. But 100%, and James Walsh, one of our loyal listeners from Long Island, always says, give me the name and say yes or no. Ichiro, 100% yes. And congratulations as well to CC Sabathia, who was elected in his first year of eligibility. And I've talked about him time and time again. I have no problem at all with him getting in the Hall of Fame. He always wanted the ball. Wherever he pitched, and in particular with the Yankees, he was a stud, and I have no problem. But somebody else may say, and I'm going to agree with him, if you look and compare him to like one of his peers, like let's say Curt Schilling, who has not gotten in the Hall of Fame, their numbers are very similar. Sabathia has, probably 30 or 40 more wins, but they're both, Sabathia has 3,000 strikeouts. So I think, yes, if Sabathia gets in, I don't think there's any reason to keep Curt Schilling out of the Hall of Fame, but he has this thing going with the baseball writers. He actually asked them to be taken off the ballot, but that's a comparable thing. And one other guy that did get in, Billy Wagner. And I thought that I'm going to go right here and say, no. He was, yes, very decent, all-time, 8th all-time in saves. But when I think about, the relievers like the Raleigh Fingers, the Eckersleys, those kind of guys, I don't put Billy Wagner in that thing. It was his final year of eligibility, so maybe that's what got him over the hump. But I would say, not so much. I disagree with that a little bit. But those are the Hall of Famers. And
All right.
but the one guy who didn't vote for Ichiro is an absolute jackass. And so nothing you could do about that, right? So that's our little baseball coverage. And like I said, there's still a couple of little things to be worked out. Alonso, is he going to stay with the Mets? Is he going to go to the Blue Jays or whatever? And again, it comes down to money. And this is going to be up to. I can't believe the Mets would let him walk when he's a decent first baseman. He's been a face of the franchise. He's going to be the all-time home run hitter for the Mets. And when you think of the Mets, I just went back and looked at some old stuff that they put Al Leiter in the Mets Hall of Fame. And if you look at his record, I mean, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
To retire Al Leiter's number is not that they retired his number. They put him in the Hall of Fame. But overall, he pitched like 8 seasons for the Mets. Very unimpressive. So the Mets are the Mets. What can I tell you?
Let's go to the NHL then.
Okay. Take it
away.
Right.
Well, Washington holds first place at the moment in the Eastern Conference, Winnipeg in first. A massive trade broke out last night involving the Blackhawks, the Hurricanes, and the Avalanche. The Hurricanes received forward Mikko Rantanen and Taylor Hall, and forwards from the NILS Junior Top Group. The Blackhawks receive a 2025 third-round draft pick in exchange for Taylor Hall. The Avalanche received forward Martin Nikes and Jack Drury, and a 2025 second-round pick and a 2026 fourth-round pick. It was a massive trade that broke out last night during the Vegas game on ESPN. And the other note I had was two notes I had.
Listen, with all due respect, no, I'm saying with the NHL, we haven't covered a lot of it, but this is opening up the trade season, and look for the Rangers to make some trades as well.
Yep.
This is one of the first big kind of marquee trade that's going to happen. There's going to be many more.
Yep. The other two notes I had was Devils goalie Jacob Markstrom suffered an MCL injury and will be out for 4 to 6 weeks during the Boston game on Tuesday. He suffered this. He'll be missing the upcoming Four Nations face-off and the remainder of the games prior to the break. And Alex Ovechkin.
Yeah, that's a big loss for the Devils.
Absolutely. Alex Ovechkin only 20 goals away from passing Wayne Gretzky's record. Ovi currently has 875 goals, and I'll reiterate this once. If he breaks the record, congratulations, good for him. We're going to give him his praise, but he is not Wayne Gretzky, and he will not be the greatest of all time. That is just my opinion.
No, you're 1,000% correct. He's kind of been hanging on. He's not the player he once was. He can stand at the top of the circle. They could feed him, so he will break the record.
He will,
but
no, there's no question.
But he's not. I'm glad that you said it, because I've said it before. He's not Wayne.
I admit that if he does break the record, which he will, congratulations.
Real
he's not
quick,
let's Wayne Gretzky.
Yep.
Go for it.
Exactly. Just look at the numbers. It's ludicrous to even compare this. Right. Real quick. So let's just touch base on the college basketball season starting to heat up right now. Auburn, number one team on the men's side. South Carolina, number one team on the women's side. And as this NFL winds down, we're going to start to have more discussions about things like the NHL and certainly college basketball. And it's very unpredictable. But when you look at it, I think the biggest, and I don't even know if it's a surprise, when you think about this Cooper Flagg and what he's done, the kid just turned 18 like a month ago, and he's probably going to be the National Player of the Year. He's probably going to be the first pick in the NBA draft at such a young age. And we always get these young kids that come up and they're going to be phenoms. Well, this kid is a phenom, and it's just he has not disappointed one bit. Love it. Love it.
Absolutely. Let's go to some random points then.
Okay. All right, Eli. So let's real quick. Yep. And that's, of course, sponsored by Lynch Toyota of Manchester, Connecticut. Loyal sponsor of the show. And I hope Mike's doing well. So, let's jump in. I only have a couple.
Yes, I have a couple too.
Interesting. So I saw a couple of specials on one was NBA Network and one was on Major League Baseball Network, and I watched this one on Dave Parker. And Dave Parker, interesting. He got MIP and he had a couple situations caught up in the drug situation in Major League Baseball back in the 80s, 90s. But I didn't realize how really good of a player he was. I always said that. I remember in the All-Star game when it was played, throw for the outfield that I have never seen anybody make. He threw somebody out at him in the All-Star game. It was one of the greatest throws from the field I ever saw. But the Pirates, and then he went to the Reds where he numbers. And he had, a love-hate relationship with the Pirates, but he did win a World Series with those guys. So it was great to see, and I'm glad that he's in the Hall of Fame, and it's a good documentary if you get a chance to see it.
Yep.
And there was just another one I saw in the NBA it was Magic and Bird. And it was really the story about both of them growing up and where they came from and how this rivalry / friendship, because they have become very, very close. Both of them won NBA championships. The NCAA final, Indiana State versus Michigan State. It's still the most watched NCAA final of all time. It was great, excellent special, and it gives you an idea that both of them came from very low income areas, and they developed into two of the greatest basketball players of all time. Outstanding special. Watch it. And one other one I had, and this is interesting, Eli, because you and I have always talked. We every time a Babe Ruth bat or a Mickey Mantle baseball card or a LeBron James jersey or something, right? Sports memorabilia.
Yeah.
So some 11-year-old kid opens up his baseball card pack and takes his bubble gum out and finds a Paul Skeens baseball card, which is already valued at like $11 million. Absurd. This guy he's paid 1 year in the major leagues. Wow. So they offered him in return for the card, they offered him lifetime seats behind home plate forever and all kinds of other stuff.
Absolute deal.
It just goes to show you how unbelievably crazy.
Deal.
Oh,
100%.
I don't know. Deal. I mean, I might take 10 million and buy my own seats. I don't know.
I'll take the 10 million any day. Deal. All right.
Anyway, just again, it's the sports memorabilia thing that has gotten so crazy. But anyway, people pay $10 million for a banana duct taped to a wall. So that's what can
again, that's art, Jim. We're going to be doing something else.
All right, Eli, that's it. What do you got?
Pop-Tart to a wall. We're going to try that next time. Pop-Tart with tape. We're going to put it on the wall, see if that sells. Okay. Maybe in a toaster,
You-
too.
We're
The
not going to
NBA
do that until you have your first Pop-Tart.
Okay. The NBA announced that they will be changing the square-shaped shot clock on top of the basket to a circle. I'm glad that's our focus in the NBA right now. Okay.
I don't
So
even know what the relevance of that is.
okay, so you know where the basket is? The shot clock's on
I
top.
do.
Okay. They're
I do.
changing that from a square to a circle. What the whole purpose is, I don't know.
Okay.
People going
I
crazy.
don't know either.
Yeah. Okay. Mike Tirico has been named play-by-play voice for NBA basketball on NBC when it returns 2025. The Oscars have released its full nominations. If you're interested, check out the Oscars or the abcnews.com for the full nominations. SZA is expected to perform with Kendrick Lamar as a special guest during the Super Bowl halftime show this upcoming Super Bowl.
Okay.
I know I'm guessing you don't know who SZA is.
I know who it is.
Oh, you do? I'm surprised.
I've heard of her. Yeah, I've heard of her.
Okay. I'm shocked about that. I was not expecting you to actually know her.
But you do know that I don't watch the halftime specials usually.
Okay. Yeah. All right. Well, congrats to Nora O'Donnell. She signed off from the anchor desk after 5 years as host of CBS Evening News. She'll still be with CBS as a senior correspondent and roles with 60 Minutes and CBS Mornings. Starting Monday, John Dickerson and CBS 2 New York's Maurice Dubois will host the evening news show from New York, no longer Washington, D.C.
Okay, well, here's a funny little point. Congratulations to Nora O'Donnell for having the lowest rated evening news broadcast for 5 years.
Wow.
But I did see on something on Finding Your Roots that she actually comes from a family called the Monahans.
Okay.
How
Wow.
about that?
You just
So I do have a little fondness for that little tidbit. So anyway.
okay. And reminder for all PATH train riders, the Hoboken Terminal Station will be closing on January 30th. That is this Thursday for repairs and renovations. The station will reopen on February 25th. The PATH will offer bus service to Newport for other PATH options. The ferry is also offering $3 fares if you show your MetroCard and depart from any Hoboken terminal for the ferry. That's 14th Street or the Hoboken Terminal. And NJ Transit bus or rail service is also an option. For those regular commuters, non-PATH who take the bus, train, or would drive into the city, you may want to allow yourself extra time when traveling throughout this time period, as you're going to see more traffic and fuller buses or trains because of all the mess happening in Hoboken.
Wow. Eli brings us these little social notifications.
Yeah. And also, one last thing, if you're a Costco shopper and you use the food court, well, an announcement broke through yesterday that starting this summer, the food court will be changing from Pepsi products to Coke products. So if you are a Costco shopper, shop at the food court, and no longer Pepsi, it's now going to be Coke. I don't have Costco, but it was trending all over the place, so I had to bring it up.
The rivalry continues.
All right. And now we move along to the entertainment and photo segment, and that is sponsored by Vital Selections. You can scan the QR code now to learn more.
Yes. And I tried to make this one relevant to this big weekend in the NFL.
Yep.
So it's a great movie I saw, and my recommendation is Silver Linings Playbook.
Okay.
And the reason I brought it up, because it's a great movie. Just watched it again, so I highly recommend it. Bradley Cooper, Jennifer Lawrence, but it's also tied to the Philadelphia Eagles. So if you watch the movie, you'll get it. Robert De Niro and
I wonder why you made that pick today.
Yeah, so it ties back to the Philadelphia Eagles. See, I do my homework, Eli. I do.
Yeah, and you also made your pick and bashed about Patrick Mahomes and the referees, and you agreed with them. All right. Though I might know was Monday at 8:00 is the NBC on NBC SNL 50 Years of Music documentary special. As you all know, they're celebrating their 50th anniversary. Well, on Monday, it is a 3-hour documentary about SNL and music run by Questlove. So if you're interested, take a look at that. As soon as I get home from the basketball game and the senior night event, I'll be watching that because I am interested in seeing that documentary.
Excellent.
And also King of Queens. That's my recommendation. Great show.
Oh, I'm a huge King of Queens fan, by the way.
Yeah. Kevin James, absolutely.
Yeah. So
any
all right.
Day. Okay.
We got a couple of pictures I wanted to put up.
Yeah. One moment. And here we go.
That's me with my granddaughter. Got an opportunity to see her. You can see the kids have been sick all week, the whole winter. Everybody, all
Oh
the
yeah, I
kids
mean
get
everybody's
sick.
getting sick. It's annoying.
Right.
Uh,
So that's one, and there's my other two. That's my basketball star, Logan. Right now, he's also a baseball star as well, and his little baby brother in the background, being a wise guy. So those are my pictures for the week.
and you also got this one.
Oh, my buddy. This has been my buddy, but he's gotten older, and I just feel so bad for him. He used to come and stay with me all the time. He was my buddy, and he's not feeling
Now,
very well. He's losing his
I
eyesight. But
I do have a question. Now, is
go
this
ahead.
the puppy that you got last time, or is this the real one?
No, no, this is the real one. This is my
This is a real
daughter's
one.
dog.
Okay. 'Cause the first thing I looked at, I'm like, wait a minute, is this Jim's puppy from when he said that he got the other day that he showed us all over?
Oh no, that was a fake dog. This is a
Okay.
real dog.
Oh, this is the real one. Okay,
But
I
he's
just want
my
to make sure.
buddy, and I'm
I was confused for some. Like, is this the fake one or is this the real one?
no, it's the real deal, buddy. It's the real deal.
Okay, I have to bring it up.
All right.
All right.
So, we got some notable passings to talk about, of course, and we do it not to put a morbid spin on the show, but to honor those that we lost. And first one was Jeff Torborg. He was 83, and Jeff Torborg was a manager for the Mets. He's also in New Jersey, a Rutgers guy. I think his number is retired from Rutgers as well. Managed 4 different teams, the Mets and so forth. I remember him as a player. Didn't have great numbers, but a solid baseball mind. 83 years old.
Yeah.
And also from the world of sports, your Devils, former Devils head coach Tom McVie passed away.
Yeah.
He was 89 of all things. I had no idea. One other quick thing about Jeff Torborg before I move on. He actually caught a Sandy Koufax no-hitter. And he caught a no-hitter by Nolan Ryan. So 2 of the greatest baseball pitchers of all time were caught by Jeff Torborg. Well, worth noting, right? And by the way, Eli, not only was Tom McVie the coach of the Devils, but before the WHA folded, he won the last WHA hockey championship with the Winnipeg Jets. So he's got great, he was solid hockey guy. And like I said, former Devils head coach. And that last season I mentioned, the WHA, the Winnipeg Jets, you know what team they beat? Wayne Gretzky and the Edmonton Oilers. How about that? Where do you get facts like this but Sports with Mono?
Only Sports with Mono and Mono. And where else could you get Jim disagreeing with everybody else and saying the refs helped the Chiefs? Nowhere else.
All right.
That's going to stick with you forever. Everybody's commenting all day. You're going to get a bunch of emails, Jim, this weekend.
I fully expect.
Yeah.
Also, Gus Williams, 71 years old. And Gus Williams was part of the championship team of the Seattle Supersonics when they won it back in, I think it was 1979. Gus Williams was a pivotal part of that team.
Yeah.
71 years old and really solid basketball player. Also, one more from the world of sports, and this was a little surprising. Calvin Jones. Calvin Jones was a outstanding running back for Nebraska for 3 seasons back in 91, 92, and 93. And he was only 54 years old, died of carbon monoxide poisoning of all things.
Wow.
So, but he was an outstanding Cornhusker for them and played for Tom Osborne. And it's a big loss for the Nebraska community.
Well, what a great show.
Hold on. I got one more.
My bad.
One more, and that's Garth Hudson, who was 87. Now, who is Garth Hudson? Garth Hudson was the final surviving member of the music supergroup The Band, which is one of my favorite groups of all time. And I
haven't listened to The Band. Maybe I've heard of a song. What's the popular song?
You absolutely have heard this. You've absolutely heard their music. outstanding. I mean, just
what's their popular song that they had?
well, if you watch the movie The Last Waltz,
Okay.
it's a movie documentary. They had the
I'm gonna
night they drove Old Dixie down. I'm sure you've heard many of the songs. So Garth
I'm gonna look it
Hudson,
up now.
87.
The band songs. Atlantic City and Station. Theme from the Waltz.
Yeah,
Like
you
your
gotta
Rolling
check it
Stone.
out.
I'm sure you've heard of a song. I just can't think of it right now.
You've heard of many songs. Trust me.
Okay.
Anyway, Eli. So
Now we could say what a great show.
It was. And we covered a lot of stuff. And yeah, I'm gonna take the thing about I'll take my medicine.
You're gonna take your medicine on that one, and we'll see about these picks. And best of luck, and hopefully, I'm very close to this.
Yep. So listen, thanks everybody again for your continued support and big weekend in football in the NFL. Enjoy the games, and Eli and I are picking opposite teams, so someone's gonna make some headway in this series.
All right, then. Let's
All
have
right,
a great
guys.
week, everyone, and we'll see everyone next Saturday at 10. Goodbye.
Yep. And thanks for the support. Thanks for the comments. And we'll see you guys same time next week.
Goodbye, everyone. Take
Bye,
care.
guys.